Welcome back to the Sustainability 100 Plus presented by AB InBev. And today we shine the spotlight on the state of Haryana. So up next is a panel discussion on agriculture industry, empowerment, strengthening the three pillars for economic growth.
Welcome to this interesting panel discussion that looks at three key pillars that we are looking at: agriculture, industries, and empowerment. And to discuss this, we have with us eminent panelists, Dr. Vibha Dhawan, who's the DG for TERI. We have Mr. Siraj Chaudhary, uh, who heads the National Commodities and Management Services. Then we have Mr. Ramnath Vaidyanathan, who heads environmental sustainability at Godrej. And finally, we have Mr. Madhavan, who's the Chief Executive for WaterAid. Talk to us a little bit uh, about agriculture and how agriculture has become so important, and we need to increase productivity of agriculture, crop resilience.
Food security is a very important issue for all the nations. And India had covered a long journey ever since we got independence. India is not doing great. We have to go cover long miles before we can say that we are able to give safe and nutritious food to our population. In terms of population, we are still growing. And also, let's look at our natural resources, which are finite. Water, especially because the water table in most states is going down, and almost 80% of the fresh water is used for agriculture. So, therefore, it is extremely important to save this fresh water as much as possible and to some extent look at matched species plants, what crop should be grown in what area so that they don't become water deficient in years to come.
Now, like to ask Siraj, since he also looks at commodity management, and food security in some sense is linked to that, and would like to have his thoughts as well.
Responding to the same question, I think the concern on food security is very valid. However, what I would like to add is it's the choices that we make within the ambit of food security. I mean, India's problem, and I'm saying we do produce enough. So at least the basic cereals, I think India is in a unique position relative to a lot of other countries in the world who are either surplus or deficit. I mean, India has a much lower trade flow relative to some of the similar size economies because we are essentially consuming most of what we're producing. This year was a unique opportunity where the world needed, thanks to Russia-Ukraine war, the world needed cereals, which India was in a position to supply. And a country like India, and for the size of our population, we did a great job by being able to supply free grain to a large population during the pandemic, and which was a sustainer.
Now, like Mr. Madhavan, to really talk us through some of the issues around water that you see in this field, and you obviously would be trying to help out agriculture with these things. So how would you look at this situation?
Almost three-fourths of the drinking water requirements in rural India are met by groundwater. Now we're seeing that of this groundwater, agriculture tends to be for agriculture, water used for irrigation is the largest consumer of this groundwater. So in some sense, if water used by agriculture does not change and it continues to be as inefficient as it is, we run the risk of not being able to provide for drinking water for our families for times to come. Water availability in every household in India by 2024. What Jal Jeevan Mission does or seeks to do is essentially to make what is normal for you and me the norm for everyone else in this country. So I think our big challenge for us is how do we try and balance these competing interests? The fact that water is critical and is being used, particularly groundwater is used excessively for irrigation, and the fact that this has an impact on drinking water availability now and potentially in the future.
And I will bring in Ram here from Godrej. You all have been celebrating the 10 years of sustainability at Godrej. And I would like to learn from you about how can companies meet the challenges of the net zero. I mean, it's a significant challenge that all the companies are facing, and you're probably the best person to answer this.
I think a lot of it stems from taking the first step. I would say. I think we realize that sometimes we often wait for the perfect solution rather than getting a move on. So one of the things I like to tell my team as well, and this is an ethos that we face sustainability across Godrej is, do not let perfect be the enemy of good. So when we started off, there's always this this fear that we won't be able to meet the targets or we won't be able to meet the goals. And net zero as a concept often seems very daunting to many companies. So they start worrying about how they want to get there to that actual zero mark. But I would argue that even getting to 80% of the net zero ambition for any company is a very, very big impact overall on the ecosystem. So, in worrying about getting to the final goal, we must not lose track of the kind of impact that we can have by making some sort of improvements in terms of our emissions.
Now it is time for an interesting masterclass on Farming 101. And this masterclass will be led by Mr. Inesh Singh, Associate Director, Sustainability and Agro, AB InBev India. So let's dive in.
Hello and welcome to the Season 2 of Sustainability 100 Plus Masterclass series. What are the most important considerations if someone wants to start their own farm?
That's a really good question, Sugandha. So when someone thinks about starting their own farm, I think the number one consideration is the location. Where is the farm going to be located? Is it going to be the state of Rajasthan, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra? Because basis the location, it will lead to a lot more decisions being finalized in terms of the type of crop that you're going to sow and the weather that you're going to get. So the location becomes a very, very important factor when thinking about starting your own farm. Then once the location is finalized, the second thing that a farmer needs to ascertain is what is the type of crop that they'll be growing. Is it going to be a cash crop? Is it going to be a food crop? Is it going to be something related to horticulture? And once the location is finalized, it's very important to understand the climate, what farmers have been doing in that region historically, what are the trends in terms of farming in the region, and basis this analysis, you arrive at the type of crop.
Moving on, what is the innovation sector there in agro? Like, how is it performing and what kind of support system exists for the first-time farmers?
The innovation sector in agro in India is booming. You will find startups offering probably every service there is to be offered at a farm level, from crop advisories to machinery, to crop tracking, to satellite monitoring, to estimating yields. The ecosystem has really boomed. However, I think the drawbacks over there are, especially for small and medium scale farmers, they don't really get efficiencies in implementing these technologies. If implemented on a large scale, definitely they give you a rate of return. But if you're implementing it in a small scale, then you really have to think about how much money you are investing versus the kind of benefits you are able to drive. So there is that balance that needs to happen. However, for farmers, I think the good news is that every single aspect of farming that we talked about right now is enabled by technology. So in a nutshell, I think the innovation sector is doing really good. However, there are still some improvements to be made for all the innovations to become mainstream.
Thank you so much, Inesh. I think that's it for our viewers today.
So hope you benefited from those sustainable practices that were shared in the masterclass. And that's it from all of us here. Thank you all for watching.